The UN's chief nuclear inspector watches a crisis unfold in his own homeland. Does even he know what to do about it, and is it time for him to do something? Also,
I have over 1,300 counts per second. Well, normally it's 30, so it's sufficiently higher here.
Weighing the risks and issuing a warning, environmental activists carry out their own tests outside Japan's cripple nuclear evacuation zone. All that and more here at the International Desk. Back to our top story now. Fukushima's nuclear power plant, a catastrophe Japan can't seem to control. And tests show new reasons to worry. Radiation in pooled water in the building housing reactor number 2, 10 million times higher than normal. Levels of radioactive iodine in seawater offshore, more than 1,800 times higher than normal. Numbers show nearly 60% of Japanese don't approve of the government's handling of the crisis. It's rapidly becoming a global problem, though. Trace amounts of radiation from Fukushima have been detected as far away as Sweden and the U.S. The U.S. has already taken steps to protect its citizens in Japan, giving them potassium iodide pills. Meantime, Greenpeace is conducting its own study of radiation just outside the evacuation zone. We talked with the group's nuclear expert about what they found.
We are measuring reactivity today at the Iata village, and we're measuring very high levels of radioactivity. So people living there, and there's still people living there, they would exceed the maximum annual permitted dose in just a couple of days. And there's still thousands of people living there, and they are clearly at risk.
Clearly at risk. Joining us now from Vienna, Austria, Amano, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Thanks so much for talking with us, sir. It seems like there is surprising and terrifying news just about every day. Today we're learning about radiation levels in the seawater, 1,800 times higher than normal. Water levels inside the turbine building at reactor number 2 containing radioactive iodine levels 10 million times higher than normal. So let me ask you, as this unfolds, are you confident that this problem is being solved, that TEPCO, which is operating the plants, is being honest and transparent? Does the IAEA even have all the facts and know what's going on?
Jonathan, I am following the situation every day, and this is a very serious accident by any standard. Therefore, the most important thing for now is to overcome this crisis situation. The IAEA is doing everything in its power.
You say the IAEA is doing everything in its power. Is it getting enough information to do everything in its power? I ask you that question because the earthquake and tsunami struck on March 11th. Most of us didn't find out around the world about the problem at this plant until March 12th, when we literally saw on television the explosion. Published accounts, and I think the IAEA will confirm that your agency didn't get all the information it wanted. It was still waiting for information on March 16th. So once again, let me ask you, is TEPCO and are the Japanese government officials you're talking to telling you everything you need to know as quickly as you need to know it?
At the beginning, we had some difficulties, but I went to Tokyo and I talked to Prime Minister Kan and asked to facilitate the flow of information. Prime Minister Kan promised me the highest level of transparency, and later the flow of information improved.
So are you endorsing now what is happening now that the management, TEPCO, and the Japanese government are bringing to the task? Is the IAEA fully confident that the work being done there is exactly what outside experts would approve of?
It is difficult to say what is right and what is wrong. As I said, the accident is not yet over, and the most important thing is to overcome this difficulty. After the situation is stabilized, we will send expert missions and we will learn lessons. But for now, let's concentrate to overcome this crisis.
Well, let me ask you about the opportunity that the IAEA and that TEPCO had to prevent this crisis. Back in 2007, as you well know, there was an earthquake at another TEPCO plant. It was twice as strong as that reactor had been built to withstand, and it turned out that TEPCO didn't know until then that the reactor it had built was actually on a fault. The IAEA has known about earthquake problems in Japan. It has told outside officials about it. But how hard did your agency press Japanese authorities before this disaster, after the last one, when the problems were obvious even to you?
The IAEA established safety standard, and IAEA sent missions to provide advice to Japan and other countries. The responsibility lies on each state. But thinking retrospectively, the measures that were taken were not sufficient. Therefore, when the situation is stabilized, we need to send missions to assess the accident and review the situation, and we need to learn lessons.
Well, one would suggest that maybe you need to do more. The sense that many outside experts have is that Japan is no longer capable of solving this problem on its own. So let me ask you, as Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, if it's time for someone outside of Japan to impress on the Japanese government that this needs to be a global effort to solve the problem, whether the IAEA should do that, make that demand, and whether the IAEA and you should take over now.
It is very important that the international community help Japan. The IAEA is mandated to coordinate the assistance from international organizations and other countries. We have many offers from various countries, and we channel it to Japan. IAEA itself sent missions to monitor the radioactivity. We sent missions to monitor foodstuff, and we have position people to coordinate the activities in assistance in Japan. We will continue to do our utmost to help Japan. International community need to stand by Japan.
Stand by Japan. Yukio Amano, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Thanks so much for this.